Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready for God's Recording Podcast. The God's Recording Podcast. We in the house, we in the house, we in the house, we in the house.
I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Psalm 122.
What's up, my brothers and sisters in Christ? Welcome to a brand new episode of the God's Recording Podcast. Here we are for our monthly podcast time here tonight. I am truly excited because joining me tonight is a dear friend of mine, brother in Christ. I met him back in 2022 at the Music Love Awards. Those who remember, that's the year I won Podcast of the Year. But yeah, I met him that year and we have stayed connected since then. I told him after seeing him on a podcast some time ago that you have been drafted officially for the God's Recording Podcast. So it's great to have him with me tonight. Please welcome for the first time ever, Mr. Tramain James. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, bro. You know, it's good to be here, man.
Amen. It's good to have you on here. And for those who are watching, I need you all to do me a quick favor. Go ahead and share this. Don't just like it, but share it, especially with men, because we are going to give some encouragement out for men. Now, truth be told, I did this topic on the Sunday Word Report back in 2018, 2019. It's been a minute. I didn't have no hair on my face, so you could tell that was a long time. So
Right.
I think it's time for another part where we give encouragement for men, because I'm just going to kick it off like this. Us men have a rough time.
Yeah, that's true.
Time, and that kind of ties into the first talking point I want to hit on tonight. It's okay not to be okay.
Right.
Not to be okay. One thing I have learned is if I'm going through something, I'm quick to say, yeah, I'm not good. I'm not in a good mood. Now,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, my wife may say, well, babe, you don't be quick to tell me stuff like that. Ain't that right, sweetheart? If she said anything else, this bright light and give me the direct answer, I can't really see behind this light. But yeah, but honestly, all seriousness, and I'm speaking to myself when I say this, men, we got to talk about when we're not okay, even when it makes us feel a certain kind of way. And that's something I'm still working on. I'm better at it, but it's still a lot of work I gotta work on about that. So it's okay not to be okay. And I know with us being men, we have a lot of people think we ought to be just this tough, buffed up, never get emotional type of person. But really, we have feelings just like everybody in the world. We have feelings. It's just, we try our best not to let things get to us, because when a real man gets mad. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone. That's a whole nother What you got to say about that real quick?
Well, man, I totally agree. Us as men, we was never taught to express our feelings because we was, seen as weak, and we will always walk around carrying stuff, not knowing that like it's actually making us worse than better.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to read a scripture coming from Psalms 34:18. It say, the Lord is near to the broken heart and saves the crushed in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, we take on so much, as men, in life, and it's okay for us to just, have that person to go to and talk to, like, maybe a counselor or maybe a friend, maybe, a pastor or somebody that we can actually talk to. So, yeah.
And that's so true. And kind of hitting on this movie that just came out a few months ago, The Forge, men just getting together, not only discipling, but just having conversation. It's good to
Mhm.
conversations, not letting ego or pride get in the way, just being open and honest. And, a lot of men may be listening to this episode right now, watching this episode, I should say, and feel like, well,
Mhm.
that's too soft, that's weak. No, it's not. It's just you will
Right.
find yourself becoming a better man, better father, better husband, whatever the case is, when you just learn to talk about it. But here's the thing, with us men, I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm gonna say this.
Mhm.
Gotta be we try to be very careful who we open up to. Cause
Yeah.
for I respect women. I love women. My wife is a woman. Of course, duh. Anyway,
Yeah. Right.
hope y'all
Right.
making a joke. But it's just us men, it's hard for us to open up, but we don't want to be used against us.
Yeah. That's right. You know.
Real quick before you say something, it's just like for
Okay.
don't want to tell like I have a phobia.
Hmm.
Sudden, I trust you with this information, but you done not only told everybody about my phobia, but you using it against me to make me look like this weak, terrible, hateful person, whatever. All I'm trying to say is we got to be very careful who we share stuff with. If you are in a situation where a man has came to you and shared some important detail about what they are feeling, what they're going through, whatever the case is, don't use it to down them or make them.
Yeah. Right.
What you about to say, Tramain? I'm sorry for that. I had to finish that point.
No. No, you good. I mean, that's so true because you just never know, like I said before, what a man is going through. Or, because like I'm just gonna be real, like nowadays we dealing with like, racism, and all this other stuff. And so, as a black man, there's people out here, targeting the black man, because we come off too dominant or we just a threat to people in general, so being a man, like for me, because I'm a black male. No, I'm not being racist, but as a male, black male, in today's society, we are the ones being targeted, and it's like they're trying to take away or do something, to our species, like whether if it's locking us up or, killing us for unknown reasons. So, just having somebody to talk to is very, very, very important.
Exactly. And I want to go to the next point because it kind of ties in what we're talking to now. In a way, don't let past heartbreaks turn you into a bad person. It's
Right.
okay not to be okay, but don't let your past heartbreaks or pain cause you to become this bad person. Um, let me be real. As someone who has been heartbroken, that was angry, it's not a good thing, especially for a man, because already that's statistic, is right there that men are dogs and this and that. But
Yeah.
in most cases, you will be surprised at why some men are like that. And I'm not condoning it, so don't think I'm condoning it. But it's a lot.
Right.
In a lot of cases, you'll be surprised at as to why they are like that. That's why
Yeah.
it's important to talk about things like that. Like, don't let your heart break. Just don't let your heartbreak not only cause you to become a bad person, but cause you to miss out on your blessings in life. Period.
Hmm. Well, and I want to say too, like for all the people that say that men are dogs, that's straight out of hurt and pain. I'm just gonna call it like it is because it's just like you have to be in a space where you are completely hurt to just say all men are dogs. You ain't even been around all men, because if you telling me that you've been around all men to just say all of them are dogs, then that means you you know what I'm saying? Like, you've been doing some sleeping around that you're not supposed to be doing. So I'm just gonna be real and honest about that.
Lemonade on that one.
So, you know, it's just like, if you're not, if you're coming from a place of brokenness, and you know you're that bitter of a person, you know, to just say, hey man, all men are dogs, you know, go get yourself healed first, you know, before you just label every man, because there's still some good guys out there. You
Mhm.
just gotta find them, you know. See, we as people, we thrive off of drama.
Mm.
Let's just be honest, we thrive off of drama. And so you can't be, see, we attract the wrong type of people. And see, you attract the people that you know that they are bad. And let's just be honest, we all know, because the only problem is you just didn't see those red flags when you was with that person. That was the difference. And I get it, some people hide them, but come on, you know, there are red flags right there for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, let's not label every man to be dogs, especially, you know, if we have not spoken to, or yet let alone been in a relationship with every man, to even, you know, call them dogs. You know, just get to know somebody, you know, before we just start spreading rumors, because who you might think is a dog could be your best friend. You just never know.
That is so true. That is true because at the end of the day, you know, yo, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna hold back on it. It the world will be a better place if we talk about the pain and the stuff we are feeling going through, because we are so quick to say, just label this person as a completely bad person. They never can change, never, you know, they don't want to change it. And it's all boiling back to a place where they are just broken hearted or whatever the case is. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you just got to open up and start just labeling somebody and just thinking, oh, it's no hope for them. There is hope, but it's up to that person to embrace that there is hope, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
um ladies, ladies, I respect y'all so much, and I'm gonna just tell it like it is. If all men are dogs, then you need to really check yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not saying that, you know, like I say, you know, because I'm gonna be honest too, because I don't want to just seem like, you know, it's all about, you know, women, but there is some men out there who are, you know what I'm saying, dogs for real.
And
But, you know,
I was just about to go there. Like,
yeah,
uh, who are dogs?
it is.
Together. That's why I was about to go. Get yourself together. Ladies are dogs, but fellas, the ones that are dogs, get yourself together. Women are not.
Right.
It's not a sport.
Mm-hmm.
Not a.
Right.
This is not a game. You know, at the end of the day, and ladies, there are a lot of great fellas out there. You know, I'm one of them.
Me too. Me too.
I am married happily. Ain't that right, sweetheart? I'm married. I'm married, you know, but there's a lot of great guys out there, but it just don't let what somebody else did make you think all men are dogs. And fellas, there is healing for you. Just open up. Um, kind of go into point number 3 with that. Don't be afraid to be who you are.
Right.
Mm.
You know, and with that, you know, I'm gonna take you to First Timothy 4:12.
You better.
No matter, it say, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers on example. I mean, set the believers in an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. You know, just be uniquely yourself, because, you know, when you're not you become, it's like you become somebody else, because it's like, man, okay, for example, um like we was talking about the whole scenario with when they was talking about all men are dogs. Well, that's what this person is saying, because they aren't, healed. They're in a space where they're hurt. They're speaking from a place of hurt right now. So you can't just jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, all men are dogs. Just say all the guys that you dated or you've been around are dogs, not every man. So having a mindset of your own, having, because it's a lot of stuff that go on online, a lot of craziness. So having that mindset of for yourself, and just, being able to think for yourself, is a thing. So yeah, I'm just old school. I'm sorry.
It wouldn't be right for me or any man to say all women are trifling because of the heartbreak I went through. It's the same thing, because if I was to say that here live, I would be canceled. It just was a couple of hours. But
Right.
say that, but it worked both ways. And fellas, be who you are. Don't be afraid to embrace who you are. If not only females, but if no one can really accept who you are, then that's their problem. At the end of the day, be the man that God wants you to be. Wherever He is taking you, leading you, wherever He's leading you, make sure you embrace that, and don't be afraid to be who you are. Because a lot of men, I'll say from my personal experience,
Hmm.
at one point, I was afraid to express who I was because I thought I was gonna get tormented and bullied by other men.
Hmm. Mm.
I'm just gonna keep it real. I thought, because I'm not the average male. I'm a man. I'm a man, but at the same time, I believe in expressing myself and just being creative, this and that. And I didn't want to go through that because at times, I did get a hard time from men because I wasn't, playing basketball or football. Now, don't get me wrong, I do it for fun, but you ain't gonna get me no game or nothing like that. Like I tried out for
Right.
basketball one time in elementary school to oppress a girl. I made the first cut and I was terrified because I was
Right. Right.
think I was going to even make that first cut. So it's just like be who you are. Don't try to fit in just to get accepted, but be your best self in life.
Right. And see, that's the thing, for myself. I never played, on a team before, like sports, but I play for fun. But I always, being a musician, I always wanted to be, a musician, a professional musician, to, travel. That's something that God placed inside of me, and we all have to, go with whatever God see. Basketball, sorry, basketball is probably, something that God gave you, to do. It may not be something that God gave to me to do. It's not saying that, I can't do those things, but, music is just for me. God showed me at a early age, like, hey man, this is something that you'll be doing. This is something I want you to do. At an early age, my ears automatically, went to the drums. And so I always had a passion for like drums and music as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But back to what I was saying, I know we own women, but even men, don't be so quick to beat up another man and put another man down, because we all supposed to be brothers, and forget this racial stuff. We all are brothers, all of us, everybody. I want to love on, each and every one of y'all unconditionally, whoever loves me. And also, don't feel like it's weak to walk away,
Mm-hmm.
because if it get to that point where, y'all are, at odds with each other, just walk away, before it get bad. Because okay, let's say we get the police involved.
Mm,
First thing they gonna say when they get there, why you didn't walk away?
true.
Why you didn't walk away? Or why you didn't block the person? So now I gotta remove you. So they basically gonna do it for you. So why not allow them? Why not allow yourself to, just walk away rather than the police have to do that when they come? Because that's all they're gonna do. They're gonna either take you, take you where you need to go, or either that they're gonna take you to jail. One of the two. So why not just leave? And then, maybe y'all can come back and talk it out. That way, you still have your life. That person still have their life. Everybody cool. It's a different day. It's a different time. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also, I believe this needs to be said when it comes to generational things. A lot of men, well, people, not just people, but in men in general, since we're dealing with encouragement for men, just because a lot of men are so rough and mean and just evil because, oh, that's how my daddy raised me, and I get it from my dad. Just because your daddy was like that doesn't mean you got to be like that. At the end of the day, now,
Right.
one thing about it, I gotta show my not just my children, but especially my son tough love. But at
Mm-hmm.
the time, I want to do it as a father and not as a bully. You know,
Right. Right. Right.
want to build up a great young man and one day father and a husband, all that. But I'm not gonna bully him. I want to father him. And there's a difference between bullying and fathering. Just because someone did it to you growing up doesn't mean you gotta be like that. Because just because you're grown doesn't mean you can't change.
See, I'm gonna say something. The Bible say, children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, that your days may be long on earth. But it also say too in the Bible, fathers don't, lead your don't push your kids to wrath.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't, forgive me if I said that wrong, but it say, fathers don't push your kids to wrath, because that's important. See, nowadays in time, we are living in a time where people don't like correction. And it's just like, you know, you have to go with correction, because the Bible say in Proverbs, it was talking about being wise, and then foolish people. Wise people, are wise because they love to learn. So they keep learning. That's why they are wise. Foolish people are foolish because they lack knowledge. That's like, if you read Proverbs, it's like God was asking them, foolish people, how long you gonna keep being foolish?
Mm-hmm.
Before you do what you need to be doing. So, you know, that's the thing. It's all about um where you stand in the Bible. And I get it, everybody be like, well, I ain't perfect, I ain't this. I'm not asking you to be perfect, but at the same time, when you serving God, you see what I'm saying? There should be a line of respect. We as people are getting, so far out of hand, when it comes to, the house of God too. And that's another, conversation for another day. But, back to what we was talking about, it's like, you know, you don't want to bully nobody. And that just boils down to um, how deep in your Bible are you? Because see, if you deep in your Bible, like you say you is, then, what is the fruit of the spirit?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're everything, you know, if you're the opposite of the fruit of the spirit, then you need to check yourself. So, but if you are of the fruit of the spirit, we shouldn't be having this conversation, you know. So um, we have to constantly, you know, um, kill our flesh. What does that mean? We constantly have to fast. We constantly have to pray. We constantly have to read our Bibles. So if we're not constantly doing those things, then yes, the enemy can come in and take over our bodies and our lives, to the point we start saying things, at our heads and stuff like that. That's the whole purpose of why God say, hey, man, you got to put on a whole armor of God every day. Take it day by day. See, I may not have been saved yesterday. Let's just say that. I may not have been saved yesterday. I ain't caring about yesterday. It's about right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm saved now, I don't care about the future because future ain't here. It's about now, right now. So, I get it. It's been men that I knew that's been mean, to their kids or, other people, including myself. I'm not going to, put myself up on, I was like that too. But, I started reading my Bible. God got a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
The peace that you see in my life, it's because of God.
That's true. Gotta be in your word. And I think one of the craziest things I heard was this one father talking about, no, I'm not gonna do no Bible stuff because that's gonna make them weak. No, that's gonna make them stronger,
Right.
end of the day, because my prayer since I became a parent, I pray that I could be I pray that God could, allow me to be the best father I can be, and that with my knowledge and ability, I could be the best father I can be at the end of the day, because you're raising up the future generation, so
Mhm.
especially with my son, sometimes I gotta catch myself a little bit because like, okay, yeah, he's still a child, but at the same time, it's gotta teach him these things, and so when as he get older, he'll understand stuff. So, but yeah, I had to say that because it's don't allow what someone did to you that pained you. Don't pass it on to your generation, to your children. Just leave it where it's at. Just because you grown
Yeah.
ain't changed. Yeah, you can't. And we gotta get. I'm on. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother time. But we need to get rid of that mindset. I'm too old to change. No, you just don't want to change because you lazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
what's
Yep.
the next? That's a whole other subject for a whole other time. It's lazy. You just don't want to change. Stop using that as an excuse. That's an old
And
school.
I want to say too, you had said something. You said somebody said they wouldn't go to Bible study. That's just people not wanting to follow, what God has for them. Because I done dealt with people. I'm pretty sure you dealt with them too. They be talking about other gods and stuff. Those are just people that don't want to listen because God is not, hard. Being a Christian is not hard. It's only hard because you allow it to be that. You know what I'm saying?
And this ties perfectly to our last talking point. Surround yourself with strong and positive men. Um, I gotta give a shout out to two men I have known. Well, one of them was my teacher, and then we worked together at my previous church, Ramiro Wright and Cordero Campbell. I worked with them in a male mentoring program at my previous church for young men and boys, and um I volunteered to not only assist and help young men, but I also joined and volunteered because I wanted to surround myself with positive male role models who were doing stuff that I wasn't doing. Like Ramel was already a father, then Cordero became a father at some point, and and I was watching that. I just recently told them this, probably as of this taping, this past Saturday, as of this taping, that hey, I was watching y'all, and that's why I'm the father I am right now, and the husband I am, because I was watching y'all all of just. Not only was I helping y'all with the young men, but I was also watching y'all because that it helped me get out my comfort zone a lot, and it prepared me for where I'm at today. So surrounding yourself with strong and
Right.
positive men is so important, because I'm telling you, it really makes a difference.
Right. And I just want to take the time out to shout out people and men that I know, that I surrounded myself around, like, Jansen Goodwin, that's my brother, Pastor Kevin Riley, that's my pastor, and all the men in his presence ministries, we doing some good things over there, you know. So I want to just, you know, shout them out. And also, you know, shout out to all the men, even at the MLAs that come to the MLAs too, because, you know, doing some good things.
Hmm. And also, just recently going back to my home church, you know, my pastor, Reverend Dr. Christopher Armstrong, you know, he in a short amount of time, he only been my pastor for a year, and you know, he's only been at my home church for a year, and he has given me some sound advice and done taught me a lot about parenthood and being
Hmm.
a man, and I don't think he really realized how much I'm taking that in. So we are saying all this not to just shout out our male role models and mentors,
Hmm.
tell you all how important men. It's important that you surround yourself with strong and positive men, and just someone who can
Hmm.
be a better man, be a better father, a better brother, a better son, whatever the case is, to be a better man. Period. You know, I'm gonna challenge you to do this. Surround
Hmm.
yourself with men who are at a higher level than you.
Yeah. And I want to shout out my dad too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like if it wasn't for my dad, you know, teaching me, you know, what it is, what it means to be a man. Because see, my dad used to, you know, he used to wake me up. He's old school. He used to wake me up early in the morning before, you know, the sun came out. And he was like, boy, come on, you know, you going with me. We going, you know, working and stuff like that. I was young, you know, real young. And that's why I'm so big, you know, when it comes to work, you know. So shout out my, you know, Mr. Ellis James, which is my dad. So yeah.
Yeah, and that reminds me, my son, me and him gotta go fishing one day because I gotta teach him his ever give.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the first gift my son ever gave me. He gave me a tackle box for Christmas. And that was right after the first Christmas we had together. And he said that's for when we go fishing. Y'all, I've been telling my son, I was like, guess what? We gonna go fishing. So I'm not only gonna take him, but I'm gonna teach him how to put together a pole, a reel, and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah.
because stuff like that is just spend, having some men time. Like every time me and him spend time together, we call it men time because we hang it out and I'm teaching him stuff and just being an example. And it's
Mhm.
good to surround yourself with other men because it'll teach you how to be a better father. Like I said, I would not be a great father like I am, without, the role models and the men I have had in my life. So,
That's dope.
my great grandfather died 25 years ago this year. That man was on. I only had him in my life for 8 years, and I'm doing stuff now that I was doing with him 25 years ago. The way I get
Mhm.
my clothes red, the way I wear Old Spice deodorant because he wears Old Spice. You said it's just certain things he did that I still do. So, it's like I'm passing that on to my son. I'm trying, and then I got a son on the way. I'm gonna have two sons by the end of the year. So it's men, just surround yourself with positive male role models and pass that knowledge and that encouragement on to the next generation. It's this man. I know I'm talking too much at this
Right.
point, but there's a lot I want to say with this point. There's a video going around where this sergeant is talking to his nephew on the street, and he's basically fussing at his nephew because the nephew.
Oh yeah. I seen that.
But what got me was the end. He fussed at him, but he gave that boy
Yeah. Yeah.
fussed at him, gave him tough love, but he gave him a hook. And we gotta normalize stuff like that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth, but I love you, and as long as I can, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be here for you. But it's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to be a man. But
Yeah.
that video did something to me watching that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Same here. You know, it's not often that you see stuff. Hey, shout out to him. You know, that guy because he could have just said, "Hey, man, I'm finna just going to take you to jail." You know, instead, he gave him tough love and was tough. I don't know what he was saying, but it was something. They hugged at the end, and we got to normalize as men hugging each other because that's what God wants us to do. He wants us like he don't even want our worship until we get it right with our brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That should tell you something. He don't even want that. He was like, go get it right with that person, then come back to me and you know what I'm saying? That's how important this thing is. We all need each other, um, men and women. We all need each other. That's why, you know, the world is the world is full of people. We all need each other at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah. And like I said, especially men, because with all the odds stacked against us, we need to band together and not look down on each other, but band together, especially as Christian men, band together and help one another and build each other up and not tear each other down just because someone may be at a different place in life than you. We all had to start somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
We all had to start.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to do that, man, because I feel like, that's the start. We need to come together and lift each other up and, hang out and go places and, really, really get down to the nitty gritty of why we the way we is. And, when somebody actually, tell you the truth, don't feel bad because we all have baggage. We all been through something. Nobody is perfect. Nobody, you know no man or woman, we aren't perfect. We all been through stuff. So knowing that we all been through things, why not come together as, like God want us to? That way we can just, love on each other. Hezekiah Walker, he wrote a song say, I need you and you need me. We all a part of one of God's body,
Mhm.
you know. So knowing we are all a part of God's body, I need you, you know.
Yeah, we all are needed.
Yeah.
We all are needed. Point blank period. So in my last closing remarks before we close out this episode is that you are somebody, fellas. You are somebody. I don't care what somebody in your past has told you. I don't care what you think of yourself now. You are somebody. If you think you're less than, think again. And
Right.
don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to surround yourself with other men. And just embrace who you are and don't be ashamed of it at the end of the day. So,
Right.
have anything you would like to share?
And I'm gonna say, like, even the people that you see that's going to prison, you know, and going to jail, they ain't bad people. They made bad choices, but they're not bad people. 9 times out of 10, the people that you see that's going to prison or jail, they didn't have nobody to turn to love on them, and that anger just built up. And you know what I'm saying? That's what caused them to commit the crimes that they committed. They didn't have nobody to say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. And sometimes they do, but like we was talking about, they don't have that man that they can go to and talk to. And if they do got that man, all they gonna do is just put them down anyway. Hey, you ain't gonna be nobody, you ain't gonna do this and do that. Not genuine love, because you cannot hate and love somebody at the same time. The two don't mix.
Hmm.
It's like, oil and water. Oil and water do not mix. So you can't say, hey, man, I love you, then turn around and say, man, I hate people. It's like I see that all the time. And it's just like, but if you're a true child of God, God is love. Jesus is love. So knowing we know Jesus is love, it's like, which side you gonna be on? You gonna be on the side of love, or you gonna have that hatred in your heart? Because as much as we say Christians know that you're Christians and people know that you're Christian, guess what? The devil know if you for real too.
Hmm. And I,
The
I'm
devil know.
and I'm gonna say this too. If you know a male mentor program that's helping young boys become great men, volunteer because there's a lot of boys out there that don't have fathers.
Hmm.
Be a mentor. We stop talking about how far back, or I'm not gonna say far back, how the generation is falling if you're not helping.
Yeah.
You know, And the thing of, oh Lord, I'm gonna say this, and this really gonna be it for me. Take no more. Older generation, especially men, don't talk about how boys are talking about this generation is lost, but you did the exact same thing when you was young. You just didn't get caught or didn't get exposed to people.
Hmm.
So stop that. You can relate to young men when you tell your story and say, hey, there's a better way to doing this instead of talking about it like you didn't do the same as everything back in your day. Not everything done back in the day was perfect and right, but I had to say that.
See, just to be honest with you, that's why a lot of people is, young people is, leaving the churches because we talk about too much of what we can't do in the church and how we can't do this and can't do that. Let's talk about the things that we can do because it's just like God come, for you. He don't care about what you're wearing. He don't care about, the hat you might have on. He care about your soul. Because when we leave this world, we ain't taking none of this with us. Nothing of it. So, you know, it's just like, get to know people, bring in the youth and teach them. Ain't nobody, we not here, to take the older generation's place. We not. We're here to help mend those bridges. We wanna help out and do something. Because look, the same people that want to help you can be the same ones out here, getting shot up, doing the drive-bys, in the gutters, drunk or high or just strung out on drugs in general, or in and out the jail system. You really genuinely got guys out here or in women that want to do something. Give them that, allow them to do stuff, in the church. Say, hey, come do this and let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to do that. That right there is the start, is the start and you will see your church grow. I heard, it was somebody talking, they were like, man, a lot of mega churches in Atlanta was closing. And you want to know why? It was because they didn't have youth. They did not have youth in their church. And so, y'all need us just as much as we need y'all. A lot of crimes is happening because we don't have that, person who's older to guide us, and we look for that love that we don't have, even in like the churches. So yeah, we all need to come together and just do what we need to do for the kingdom.
Going back to what you said, we all are needed. We all, like older generation, you may pass on a position to a younger person, but that don't mean your work is done. You are still needed in raising up this current and next, generation. So let's stop right here because we could go on. This may need to be a part 2 at some point before the end of
Right.
because it's so honestly, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to encouraging men and stuff like that. And I only, chose 4 talking points, and I really had more than that. But I only chose 4 out of the billion ones I had. But before
Right.
I want to thank Tramain for taking the time out and joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, bro. For real. I can't wait till we do this again. Thank you once again for having me.
Most definitely, because you are definitely drafted for another. We are about to close out this episode. I thank you all so very much for joining us tonight. Next month is going to be a very special episode. It may be 2 episodes next month, but I'll let you know. Just keep up with me on social media for the announcements. Also keep up with the audio episodes that are being posted from now until the summer. A lot of great episodes, and really that's all I have for you all. So until April, because that's the next time I'll be here live in April, this is Reverend Bertram BJ Major signing off, telling you all to stay great, stay safe, and be blessed.